Hi, welcome in to the Read Along Room with Miss Shanice. I'm so glad you could join me. I have some special books for you this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever you choose to watch this, whenever. I'm so excited you're here. I have this amazing Read the Room cup. We gotta quench our thirst, and let's get started. Happy Black History Month. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've had an amazing January, and we have some exciting things that we're going to read this month. Also, just as an announcement, I have some things that will be coming into play starting probably in March. So be on the lookout, parents, for those announcements for the book clubs and the book challenges that will be starting. We'll be gearing up for the summer. But I do want to have just a pilot spring break book challenge. It will be based off grade levels. I'm encouraging parents to encourage your children to read at least 1 to 2 books on spring break. I know it's only a week. I know that you have things that are planned, but as you're traveling and as you're doing your spring cleaning, you can incorporate at least 1 book into your daily or weekly routine, whether that's an audiobook, a Kindle read, or an actual physical copy book. I think that is very doable, right? Am I right or am I right? So things like that will be coming up soon. So I will be making general announcements on all my social media. If you haven't followed me yet, hit the subscribe button at the top. Here on YouTube, on Facebook, or on TikTok. You can find me at the Read Along Room with Miss Shanice, or just the Read Along Room. Without further ado, I have this very special read, and I'm gonna try not to cry because it's very inspiring to me. So growing up, there was this amazing girl that I used to watch her movie adaptation all the time, probably once a week. And her name is Ruby Bridges. And Ruby Bridges, she walked and literally walked so that I could run. And that movie is one that I literally know word for word by heart. It's such an inspiring story to me because it was somebody that I saw that looked like me. And she did something that was beyond amazing, was beyond brave and powerful and inspiring for such a young girl at that age. And she lived a life and walked the walk for so many of us, Black and brown girls and boys. If it wasn't for her and so many other that integrated into the schools, we wouldn't be where we are today. So without further ado, we have Miss Beautiful Ruby Bridges. I hope to meet her one day. Maybe she'll see this read, but she's such an inspiration. So this particular book is written by Robert Coles and is illustrated by George Ford. This again is the story of Ruby Bridges, the story of a civil rights icon. This was published in 1995, copyrighted. This is in the beginning. This is from Ruby's mother. Our Ruby taught us all a lot. She became someone who helped change our country. She was part of history. Just like generals and presidents are a part of history. There are leaders, and so was Ruby. She led us away from hate, and she led us nearer to knowing each other, the white folks and the Black folks. Ruby's mother. Let's get started. Ruby Bridges was born in a small cabin near Tylertown, Mississippi. We were very, very poor. I mean, very, very poor, Ruby said. My daddy worked picking crops. We just barely got by. There were times when we didn't have much to eat. The people who owned the land were bringing in machines to pick the crops, so my daddy lost his job. But that's when we had to move. I remember us leaving. I was 4, I think. And that's little Ruby. In 1957, the family moved to New Orleans. Ruby's father became a janitor. Her mother took care of the children during the day. After they were tucked in bed, Ruby's mother went to work scrubbing floors in a bank. Every Sunday, the family went to church. We wanted our children to be near God's Spirit, Ruby's mother said. We wanted them to start feeling close to Him from the very start. Anyone else, parents used to tuck them in at night no matter what? Isn't that such an amazing feeling? Right after a book, right? At the time, Black children and white children went to separate schools in New Orleans. The Black children were not able to receive the same education as the white children. It wasn't fair, and it was against the nation's law. In 1960, a judge ordered 4 Black girls to go to 2 white elementary schools. 3 of those girls were sent to McDonough, 19. 6-year-old Ruby Bridges was sent to 1st grade in the William Frantz Elementary School. Ruby's parents were proud that their daughter had been chosen to take part in an important event in American history. They went to church. "We sat there and we prayed to God," Ruby's mother said, "that we'd all be strong, we all have the courage that we get through any trouble. And Ruby would be a good girl, and she'd hold her head up high and be a credit to her own people, and a credit to all the American people. We prayed long and we prayed hard." On Ruby's first day, a large crowd of angry white people gathered outside the Frantz Elementary School. The people carried signs that said they didn't want Black children in a white school. People called Ruby names, so some wanted to hurt her, and the city and state police did not help Ruby. The President of the United States at the time ordered federal marshals to walk Ruby into the school building. The marshals carried guns. And I vaguely remember this part of the movie and just remember, even at the time watching this as a young girl, her just resilience and her strength and how cruel that people can be. Every day for weeks that turned into months, Ruby's experienced that kind of school day. She walked into the Frantz school surrounded by marshals, wearing a clean dress and a bow in her hair and carrying her lunch pail. Ruby walked slowly for the first few blocks. As Ruby approached the school, she saw a crowd of people marching up and down the street. Men and women and children shouted at her. They pushed toward her, but the marshals kept them from Ruby by threatening to arrest them. Ruby would hurry through the crowd and not say a word. She was very, very brave. The white people in the neighborhood would not send their children to school. When Ruby got inside the building, she was all alone except for her teacher, Mrs. Henry. There were no other children to keep Ruby company, to play with and learn with, to eat lunch with. But every day, Ruby went to the classroom with a big smile on her face, ready to get down to the business of learning. She was polite and she worked well at her desk, Mrs. Henry said. She enjoyed her time there. She didn't seem nervous or anxious or irritable or scared. She seemed as normal and relaxed as any child I've ever taught. So Ruby began learning to read and write in an empty classroom, an empty building. "Sometimes I look at her and wonder how she did it," said Mrs. Henry. "How she went by those mobs and sat there all by herself, yet seemed so relaxed and so comfortable." Mrs. Henry would question Ruby in order to find out if the girl was really nervous and afraid, even though she seemed so calm and confident. But Ruby kept saying she was doing fine. The teacher decided to wait and see if Ruby would keep on being so relaxed and hopeful, or if she gradually began to wear down, or even decide that she no longer wanted to go to school. Then one morning, something happened. Mrs. Henry stood by a window in her classroom as she usually did, watching Ruby walk toward the school. Suddenly, Ruby stopped right in front of the mob of howling and screaming people. She stood there facing all those men and women, and she seemed to be talking to them. Mrs. Henry saw Ruby's lips moving and wondered what Ruby could be saying. The crowd seemed ready to kill her. The marshals were frightened. They tried to persuade Ruby to move along. They tried to hurry her into the school, but Ruby wouldn't budge. Then Ruby stopped talking and walked into the school. When she went inside the classroom, Mrs. Henry asked her what happened. Mrs. Henry told Ruby that she'd been watching and that she was surprised when Ruby stopped and talked with the people in the mob. Ruby became irritated. "I didn't stop and talk with them," she said. "Ruby, I saw you talking," Mrs. Henry said. "I saw your lips moving." "I wasn't talking," said Ruby. "I was praying. I was praying for them." Every morning, Ruby had stopped a few blocks away from school to say a prayer for the people who hated her. This morning were no different. She forgot until she was already in the middle of the angry mob. When school was over for the day, Ruby hurried through the mob as usual. After she walked a few blocks and the crowd was behind her, Ruby said a prayer she repeated twice a day, before and after school. "Please, God, try to forgive these people, because even if they say those bad things, they don't know what they are doing. So you could forgive them just like you did those folks a long time ago when they said terrible things about you." And that is a quick story about Miss Ruby Bridges. This is the afterword. If you want, you can read that to your little ones. It's just beginning to talk about Ruby and her story. I will read a paragraph here at the end. It says, "Ruby Bridges is married to a building contractor and has 4 sons. Now a successful businesswoman, she has created the Ruby Bridges Educational Foundation. With its focus on education, community, and the future of our nation's children, the foundation is especially dedicated to revitalizing the William Frantz School, which is located in the heart of the 9th Ward in New Orleans. Ruby is once again stepping to the forefront and embracing an opportunity to make history by contributing to the challenge that our nation is facing and the recovery of efforts following Hurricane Katrina at the time. There's also a special exhibit featuring Ruby's story at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, Indiana. The Museum of Indianapolis, called The Power of Children Making a Difference." And again, I just love this picture here. So again, Ruby walked so that I could run. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional. One more quick thing. So if you've ever read the full entire story, or you know the story, watched the movie. In the story, there was a white male psychiatrist at the time who would visit Ruby, and he offered free counseling and therapy to her through sessions, in-home sessions, and things of that nature. At the time, I probably was 6 or 7 myself, so I didn't really think much of it. But looking back, it was divine and even properly subconsciously written that myself, Miss Shanice, is now a psychologist. Now, they are 2 different professions, but we have a lot of interconnectedness, right? So I just think back like, wow, back in Ruby's day, Black and white children couldn't even go to the same school. They integrated. She built a legacy. She built a foundation. She was a civil rights icon. And now you have people like myself that are actual school psychologists. We're the 4% in the career field. That's amazing.
Can I join the camera and just say hello?
1 second, sweetheart. So again, I hope you enjoyed this amazing read. Thank you so much for joining me. I have so much more to share with you this month, and I can't wait to see you soon. Take care.